will be using the Andis Super 2-Speed Clipper with T84 blade to groom our horse. The Super 2-Speed Clipper features detachable blades and regular and super fast cutting speeds. Dana Boyd Miller will be teaching practical and effective grooming techniques using the Andis Super 2-Speed and Andis AGR cordless clipper. Dana is the premier horse groomer in the United States. She's from Wellington, Florida, and has worked in many different facets of the equine industry for the past 25 years. Dana has been clipping exclusively since 1991, clipping approximately 600 horses between the months of September and April in South Florida. Her 25 years of experience has included training, teaching, racing thoroughbreds, and showing hunters. Dana clips many of the top show hunters and jumpers, as well as many other types of champion show horses from around the world. Before we begin, let's go over two important maintenance procedures: oiling the blade and changing the blade drive. Proper oiling keeps the blade lubricated, flushes out dirt and hair, and keeps the blade cutting cool and quiet. Oil both sides and across the teeth, blotting off any excess oil. Every 300 hours, change the blade drive to keep your clipper cutting like new. Remove the blade, then remove all 4 screws from the underside of the clipper. Lift the cover off the clipper and remove the switch lever and set aside. Next, remove both screws holding the blade drive to the lower housing. Each new blade drive contains complete step-by-step instructions. After removing both screws, lift off the blade drive by pulling up on the assembly. Insert the new assembly by sliding the assembly over the metal cam and snapping the 2 holes onto the small pins protruding from the lower housing. Replace the 2 screws through the blade drive assembly and tighten into the lower housing. After reattaching the switch lever, replace the cover, being sure it fits flush to the bottom housing. Insert and tighten the 2 longer screws into the 2 front holes and 2 shorter screws into the 2 back holes. Snap the blade back on the clipper and you're finished and ready to groom. Andis makes 2 of the finest clippers available for horse grooming. Either of these clippers, the Andis Super 2-Speed or the AGR cordless, will perform the clipping techniques you will see in this video. For best results, start with the animal being as clean as possible. After introducing yourself and the clipper to the horse, turn the clipper on and begin by touching the horse with the back of your hand, then begin to clip. As most animals are comfortable being approached at the shoulders makes a good starting point. Take a minute to look at the hair, noticing the pattern of growth. The hair grows in many different directions. Clip into the growth pattern. Be careful to slide the blade flat along the surface of the skin, not on an angle. This should alleviate any chance of leaving welts, lines, or the possibility of the hair being pulled instead of cut. Whether you use long or short strokes is a personal preference. Be sure to make the strokes even, working up through and completing one area at a time. Sometimes on the shoulders there will be a bony area. It works well to use your other hand to stretch the skin off of the bone so that it is more comfortable for the animal. The same technique applies to loose skin. It is easier to clip areas of loose skin when you stretch it taut while you clip. Next, we will work in the vicinity of the mane. It's important not to clip the mane hair itself. By brushing the mane to the opposite side, you will find it easier to cut in this area. You will be able to distinguish the difference between the hair of the mane and the hair of the coat, not only by length but also by texture. Run your clipper in a downward motion, again paying attention to the direction of the hair growth. When working on the bridle path, start near the back of the head and clip towards the mane. Hold the mane with your other hand to prevent clipping a longer bridle path than desired. After clipping off the bulk of the hair, go back and blend the two areas together by clipping downward toward the neck. Different breeds of horses will have different lengths of bridle paths. Determine what is best for your horse. Most horses have at least one cowlick on their neck. These are the result of the hair patterns joining together. Take your time and observe the growth pattern. By clipping into the hair, using small controlled strokes, it will be easier to negotiate the swirling pattern. The next area to be groomed will be the legs. Divide the legs into two sections, the upper leg or forearm and the lower leg. When working on the forearm, you may notice the hair grows from the front of the leg around to the side. Start at the top of the forearm, working your way down the outside and toward the front of the leg. The technique of moving or rolling the skin is quite useful on many places of the leg. For the lower leg, it may be easier for you to pick up the foot and hold it, while you clip around the fetlock and the sides of the tendons and ligaments. You may or may not find an ergot on the back of the fetlock. This is much like the chestnut. To trim around this and the chestnut, work away from these points and into the grain of the hair. When working on the front of the lower leg, you will notice the hair appears to grow straight downward. Look again. It actually grows from the center toward the sides. Work your way up from the coronet band and pastern, over and around the ankle, and up the bone to the knee. The hair covering the knee is much thicker. Take your time and allow the clipper to do its job. Don't try to force or push the machine through the hair. This will result in a rough appearance and require the area to be gone over more than necessary. For efficiency and a better view of the clipping surface, clip the inside of the opposite leg. Make sure to touch the horse first in an effort to make him aware of the next area to be worked on. It can be awkward to try and hold the opposite leg off the ground. Again, the technique of rolling the skin to a clippable position is used. As you work your way up the inside of the forearm, you may find it necessary to stretch out the wrinkled skin with your other hand. If the skin is not stretched out, it's possible to nick or cut these folds of skin. As you approach the elbow and girth area, you will notice the hair growing in many different directions and the skin is extremely loose. It is helpful to position the horse to stand with its front leg slightly forward. This will give you the needed room for maneuvering as well as tightening some of the looseness of the skin. Continue to work with the girth area with both hands, one clipping, the other working the skin into the appropriate position. Next, we begin with clipping the barrel. Although this is a large area, it is relatively easy. You may be tempted to take full body length strokes. However, working with short to medium length strokes and overlapping slightly will result in a smooth, even finish. Remember to keep the blade surface flat on the skin and allow the clipper to glide through the coat. Andis clippers are designed to be used with minimal pressure. This eliminates the possibility of welts and lines. As you progress down the barrel to the stomach, stand close to the animal. Find a position that is comfortable for you to work in. There will be some stretching and bending required to clip the underside of the stomach. Do not put yourself in a compromising position, such as being on your hands and knees or sitting on the ground. Even the best horse can become unsettled by innocent acts from outside influences. Moving on, we come to the coupling, flank, and loin. By now, you should be recognizing the many changes of direction in the hair growth. Here, a short overlapping stroke is most effective. When clipping in this area, be careful to note the swirls and changes in the hair's growth pattern. Clip slightly into the next growth pattern. By clipping in this manner and overlapping the change in direction of growth, the result will be a smooth, blended finish. This is the largest example of the swirling patterns found throughout the body and even on the head. Continue using the short overlapping stroke, cutting into the previously clipped area. Be sure not to clip straight down through the swirl, as you may end up with ridges. As you reach the bottom of this swirl, the area becomes very sensitive. By using your other hand to slightly stretch the skin, you are able to help reduce the horse's twitching, which is a natural reflex response. Continue working the clipper in this area using smooth, even strokes. You can see how keeping the clipper blade flat against the horse results in a smooth and even cut. Moving on to the hind end, start at the top working toward the hip, the spine, and the tail. Because this is a rounded area similar to the shoulders, growth patterns may be deceiving. Take special note of the growth pattern while clipping. To work quickly and effectively, the blade should be oiled every 10 to 15 minutes. Oiling the blades frequently will enable them to cut faster and stay cooler, thus prolonging the life of your blades. Remember to wipe off any excess oil as not to leave a stain on the horse. As you continue working downward from the hip, follow the growth pattern clipping against the grain of the hair. It's important for the horse to stand square or evenly on both hind feet. If not, the muscle tone will result in loosening or tightening of the skin, depending on whether he is resting his leg or standing with all of his weight to one side. As you move further back on the hind leg, you will be finishing the top of the croup area. Here, you will clip all the way to the center of the spine. Usually, the hair is now growing directly away from the head. When working on the buttock, guard the tail with your other hand. This will prevent cutting any hair on the tail. While staying close to the animal, work your clipper in a smooth, curving fashion around the back of the cheek and toward the inside of the back of the leg. To create the triangle, locate a point on the spine roughly 3 to 4 inches above the base of the tail. Clip through the coat, starting on an outside corner of the base of the tail and following through to the point on the spine. After completing this procedure from both sides of the tail, your end result will be an even, centered triangle. The triangle is left on for mainly cosmetic reasons. It provides a way to finish the tail neatly and without jeopardy to any tail hair itself. Proceeding to the hind leg, the stifle, on the fleshy area above the gaskin, can be sensitive. We have discussed the advantages of maneuvering the skin. You might not have realized your free hand can also act as a shock absorber. Sometimes the minimal vibration from the clipper may tickle the horse, causing him or her to fidget or move around more. Keeping contact on the skin with your free hand close to the working area should help relieve this problem. The lower hind leg is clipped in the same manner as the front leg. Remember to touch the horse first with your hand, then the clipper. This way there are no surprises as to your next working area. Finally, we come to the head. Even though this is one of the last areas to be clipped, there are several sections to be discussed. Start by removing the whiskers on the muzzle. You can use the clippers the same way as you have throughout the rest of the body, or turn the clipper over as though they were upside down to carefully remove the whiskers as close to the skin as possible. We have removed the halter for both better accessibility and a better view of the cheek and sides of the face. Steady the head with your free hand and begin on the cheek, clipping into the grain of the coat. By taking your time, observing the growth patterns, and using short, overlapping strokes, the result will be a smooth finish and shouldn't take very long. As you encounter the bony areas, remember to take your time. Whether you are working on the cheekbone, the bridge of the nose, or the eye socket, realize these are sensitive and should be treated with respect and patience. Make sure to brush the forelock out of the way while working on the forehead and clip toward the cowlicks, which are usually found between the eyes. Because the head can be one of the more difficult areas, you may find it necessary to clip over sections of the face more than once. The hair is usually shorter and less dense on the front of the face. Also, the hair grows in many different directions. When clipping underneath the jaw, use your free hand to tighten the skin. After completing this section, you may find it helpful to put the halter back on. Depending on the halter you use, it may not need to be removed. Remember, control and safety first. By using your fingers to inch your way through the loose skin or asking the horse to raise its head to tighten the skin, clip through the throat area and up the back of the head towards the ears. Although this horse is well behaved, many can be leery about the top of their head and ears when they come to being clipped. It works best to clip where they will allow you to and then go back to the areas of protest. In other words, save the worst spots for last. Remember to be careful when clipping over the bone mass above the eye. Gently press the eyelid closed over the eye and clip the socket. Try not to clip the eyelashes or whiskers. Finish the front of the face by clipping and blending any hair that may be left on the forehead. As you begin working around the base of the ears, the crown, and the poll, it may be helpful to take a gentle hold on the ears. As well as being able to move the ear out of the way, remember your hand acts as a shock absorber. Guard the forelock as you clip the narrow path between the ear and the forelock to help prevent clipping the longer forelock hair. With a secure but gentle hold, begin clipping the outside of the ear first. Start at the top and clip downward toward the base of the ear. Finish the back of the ear by following the growth patterns from the sides to the base of the ear and blend with the previously clipped area. Still holding the ear, start clipping the inside by using a narrow or partial stroke. Working from the outer edge, carefully clip towards the inside of the ear. The deeper you work into the ear, the more sensitive the ear becomes. Pay special attention when clipping around the cartilage in the base of the ear. In a minute, you will have a better view of how to hold the ear for easier access to this area. Clip the edge of the ear with a downward and angled stroke for a blended finish. Complete the ear by looking for and clipping any missed areas. As with anything else, the more often you clip the ear, the more comfortable you will both become when working in this region. In the event of your horse not standing still, especially while trying to work on their ears, check to see if the blades are hot. Remember, cleaning and oiling the blades every 10 to 15 minutes will help prolong their cutting ability. Here is a better view of the technique we just discussed. Notice the placement of the thumb and how it's used to guard as well as roll the cartilage for better accessibility. This is the Andis AGR cordless clipper. As we finish up, notice we use the AGR cordless clipper with a size 10 blade. The size 10 blade clips a little bit closer than the T84 and is one of the many sizes of the detachable blades available for use with both the AGR and the Super 2-speed clipper. If you choose to change the blade from the T84 to any other size blade, whether it be to clip an ear or special areas, remember to put the T84 blade back on to finish the rest of the clip job. The AGR clipper is strong enough to clip the full body. With a rechargeable battery and charging unit, it is possible to clip in locations that may not have access to an electrical outlet. The last area to be discussed is the chest. You will find many cowlicks in this area. Depending on the breed of the horse, the soft skin can be stretched to help make the chest easier to clip. As you work through the cowlicks, be careful as you approach the bottom where the leg and chest meet. Because of wrinkling, it is easy to nick the skin. Look closely at the growth pattern. Clip into the grain of the coat. Most importantly, take your time. With patience and practice, and by following the techniques that we have discussed in this video, not only will you be able to clip your horse, you will be happy with the end results. We hope this video has been helpful, and thank you for choosing Andis to meet all your clipping needs.